Okie dokie, so we've got a timber frame here and we're going to try and find out what's wrong with it. As anybody could see looking at it, it's not a happy frame. Basically it's been painted, it's been repaired with cement, it's got anything and everything on it. This beam is not a beam, it's just cement. And I've done a little bit of tapping around and you can see that there's just half exposed timber with cement in it. Great big chunks of cement. You look up, you can see that it's moving. And what I'm just in the process of doing here is really getting violent and trying to open up some of the frame. And what I actually done is taken something off the front, and you can see how at the back of the timber that we still got an original beam. So what we're going to continue to do now is take off this cement, this rubbish that is coating the whole thing, and see just how badly damaged this timber is. Not easy trying to so there we go. So now we've got the original beam, and somebody's very nicely filled it with cement, put bits of paper into it, but you can actually see now that the beam is not completely broken through. So that's the back of the joint. You can see where that's actually there. That's the back of that joint. There's the original peg hole. That's the back of that joint. And then these uprights, we've actually got part of the tenon there. That's the front of the tenon with a peg hole in it. So it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I think that this is going to be faceable. We can probably do a big face patch on this. What we'll now do is we'll have a look at the rest of it. I think we'll just expose it and see just how badly damaged it is. I don't think the cement is really in any way structural. But we need to know what else is going on behind here. But that looks good. I'm happy that there's enough timber there to work with. And this is quite solid. That's why I like bashing it when adds. Good and solid. So there's...
It's all falling off inside, don't you? All do you like an imagery?
My house is falling down.
I work in the road now.
No, the good thing is it looks a bit better than I thought it was. We got some solid timber in here, so that's my first impression. Okay. So what we'll do now is have a closer look. I better have a look inside and see.
I sent a photo of this to my mum, who's sat in America in a lake, going, "Look what we've done to the shop."
It's all falling down, is it?
I would say that is worse though than what we're here.
Just getting back to this, we've got an interesting observation in that if you look at this, you will see the back of a joint, and that is from a piece of wood going up into it that way. And if you look at this end, you'll see there's another one going up and another one going up. So we've got one there, we got one there, another one up there that we've exposed. So what you're looking at is probably a close spaced, framed with uprights right the way along, and at some point, probably Georgian time, it's quite thin bricks, they're probably 18th century bricks of some sort. I don't know exactly when they were put in. They put in this brick plinth underneath and taken the timber out. if we move up a little bit and you have a look at further up, what we've done is to expose some of the joints, and it's probably quite good stuff here. You can actually see I've opened up the brace. I've taken a bit of rough, rotten timber off here. This is all horrible manky stuff, but what we're actually back to here is quite strong timber. That's the back of the mortise, and then on the front we can see this section is the tenon, and we've exposed that tenon with the peg hole. So we've actually got a piece of wood here that is, this section, this upright, is not too bad. We can actually peg that back in. Bit of a hole in the jowl post up there, but we'll fill that. This one here, again, there's a tenon. It's quite a solid piece of timber, that. So the tenon on this is fine. There's the original peg. You can just see the peg sticking out there. Timber here is not very pretty, so we'll probably face this. And again, another tenon. Oh, that's fine. That tenon is okay. So this piece of timber here doesn't need to come out, and what we can do is we can put a piece of a face patch over here, or probably, because that joint's gone, we'll come right back from the joint and we'll patch over all of this. We'll do a face over it and trap all of these tenons back in and fix them in so that they all get structurally fixed, and then we just got to worry about that mess up there, which I think is going to be a big facing piece bolted through, because we've got beautiful timber inside and we don't want to lose that historic timber inside. A lot of people just rip them out. I don't agree with that, nor does Historic England. They like to see that if there is more than about 25% of the original timber, that it gets kept. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to try and keep as much original as we can, and just put in facings where we need to. So there you go. That's a bit of a rough repair schedule starting to come together now. We've got an idea of the condition of it. A lot of thick tar and gunk. You can see where on the middle of that piece I've actually adzed off some of the tar and the gunk, and you can see the colour of the timber starting to come out. I don't like to see any paint on these things. This ideally needs to be blasted off. It wants to be sandblasted very, very gently so it doesn't damage the timber. Get all this paint off. And then the infill panels we do with a wood wool, sheep wool mix. There's about 25 panels in here, so probably about 200 quid each for the panels. So around about 4,000 or 5,000 of the infill panels with wood wool, sheep wool and a lime render on the outside, so it'll look fantastic. So there you go.